Hello guys, welcome to the video. Today's video, we're gonna be I'm just thanking you guys for 100 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. Honestly, I've been wanting to be a YouTuber for a very long time, since I was 6 actually. I don't remember why I wanted to be a YouTuber. All I remember is that I just wanted to be a YouTuber, and well, I finally got my dream come true. Yeah, and well, thank you guys so much. That's all I really have to say. But like, thank you guys so much for the stream. Honestly, honestly 100 subscribers is crazy to me. Honestly, I predicted that this was gonna take me 2 years when I first started my channel. My channel started off really slow. Just thank you guys so much for the support and love. It is so greatly appreciated. Honestly, it's more than I've ever asked for, and thank you guys so much for everything. So yeah, well, I'm gonna be doing alternate history just for a video. So yeah, so in alternate history, in the past couple of years, we're gonna say now the pink team, they've been at a steady decrease. So this is about when World War One started. They took a big dip. They went up, and lately they've been starting to slow down. But they're about right here. This is where they are, which means they are no longer allowed to have a nuke. So this nuclear bomb that they have, which they were allowed to have about right here, this nuclear bomb that they have is now illegal. So they go ahead and decide to sell the nuclear bomb to Canada, because Canada, they're now powerful enough to get their country, well, get a nuclear bomb. Do they even have a capital? I don't think they do have a capital. Well, their capital is gonna be right here. Put that right there, and one nuclear bomb. So they have one nuclear bomb, and the pink team no longer has a bomb. And well, the what the Canadians they do, they go ahead and research the bomb, and they now find out how it was made. And well, now there's gonna be kind of an arms race, because well, obviously World War I never really happened, because Russia avoided by dropping nuclear bombs on a couple countries, which left them in shambles. So yeah, but you do have the growth of the Heart Alliance. They get a couple more people. They get this country right there. They get this purple country because, well, yeah. But you see, the brown country has been in the state of leaving the Heart Alliance in the last little bit. So they were finally granted their permission to leave. And well, they now leave and they start their own alliance, but it's more of a it's more of a like a just a economical alliance. A couple countries does decide to join it, and they're like the main economical powerhouses, which are definitely going to help this out, and their allies. So you have like the 3 strongest countries joining it, and these guys, this dark blue country and the Canadians, they have great relations. Then you go ahead and have a couple the stronger African nations, like this one right here. This is like the strongest African nation, and then it's this light blue one. These two join, and then these guys right there, and also surprisingly enough, these guys. But you see, the pink team, they're going to be having an election now. If the president that is in the lead right now gets elected, the pink team will not be around as they were. If their president that they do, so this is the president that's in the lead right now, because he's lied. about some promises. Here's the president government, and if he gets into power again, the country will go back into top. Will go back into number 3. And this blue, well, you don't get a no. But you have to reach this line right here to win. And well, the red, they are really starting to win, but eventually some people started to vote, and the yellow and the president right now was able to start catching up. But the blue, they skyrocketed. But before they won, because you have to actually get into the white, the red was able to complete it by passing it. So yeah, it was honestly a very close call between the red and blue. It was like if another day went by, the blue would have won. So yeah, but that means that the red team won. Well, the red won, and their first action was to straight up just leave the Russian alliance. They destroy Paris. They destroy some important cities, like just completely tearing some buildings down, destroying it. They go ahead and invade the Brown Country, which, yes, they do. They do invade the Brown Country, which does go pretty successful for them, but not totally successful because, like, this is like the Pink Team's midlife crisis. They are one of the oldest countries, and in the same time, you go ahead and have the Red Country deciding to declare that, well, the government, they declare that they are no longer going to be a part of, like, Europe, but the people over there, okay, wait, hold up. So, the people over here in, this area, they are so red, they are, like, very red positive, that they are, like, no. And, well, what ends up happening, because these two countries now collapse, the red and this dark green, dark, like, brown country, collapse, but I feel like this one would be able to last, because they aren't just one major city compared to the red, where they are just one major city. But the dark green country get their promised land, and they are now able to have their old capital back, but not fully. They still technically don't have their capital because, well, it's nuked, and you don't want to put your capital there because no one lives there. But yeah, back to the pink and dark brown war. More stuff is gonna be happening on the red team, but we'll get to that later. Well, you see, this important city almost gets encircled, but they left. But the pink team made a mistake. They left their defenses open, and, well, they were able to get pushed back, and they got a spearhead went shooting out and capturing a major city. It looks something like this. So yeah, it ends up right there, and, well, yeah, the pink team's like, oh, okay. So the pink government, they go ahead and pull back on the offensive right here, but they go ahead and encircle those troops and encircle that important city, but the brown country was able to stop it and hold an offensive line, like a defensive line right here. But all these troops were just told to either fight till you're dead, or surrender. Doesn't matter to us. You're dead. So the pink team, they go ahead and go for an encirclement of the capital, but a peace treaty is decided on. And, well, you have the pink team gaining land right there, and you have the pink team losing land down here, though. But the pink team, they still does gain some land and some land up here. But honestly, no one really knows what they were going for, because, like, they weren't successful. But now it is time for the collapse of the pink team, because with that pretty much losing of the war, because a lot of people in North America are saying that they lost the war, and, well, that led to the collapse. That's gonna lead to the collapse of the pink team colonies over here in North America and Central America. But Canada, they go ahead and they get some land, and no countries are gonna be like no new countries are gonna be starting for the first little bit. Also, we can probably it probably be safe to say that these islands have been explored by now. They're like 100 years in the future, so like technology wise, so they obviously have been. But are so they're just losing land to already existing countries. They're not actually no new countries have started until now. A country just decided that they were going to break away, and it's pretty much all of the Caribbean. They are all one big country, and they even have some land out here because of the way that the pink team set up some borders. And well, this is probably going to lead to a lot of wars in South America, but who knows? Eventually, you go ahead and have this piece of land falling over to the blue team. Well, this is our first new country, not the whole South American colony went over to them, just a little bit. I don't know why it's fully colored in. Let me draw that. Wait, hold up. Okay, so yeah, it's like they only have like this top piece right here. So yeah, right there, the pink team still does have this, but these guys, they go ahead and they pretty much declare war on the pink team, and well, they strive for this and they get it. They get the important city, which leads to the collapse of this. And well, you see, the brown team, they go ahead and they realize that they will not be able to hold on to their South American colony, so they go ahead and they say, give us 2 years and we will leave. And they say, okay. So in those 2 years, the brown country, they go ahead and they go ahead and they expand out quite a bit. They're now going to be one of the larger countries in South America. And well, obviously not all of this is going to go to one country, but it is going to become 3 countries. Well, no, 2. So, one does have to have a little bit of the north, because like that's where all the major cities are, like major parts of South America are, because all of this is forest right now. And well, the last remaining part is like this area, but they are also granted their independence. But this is not sparking an independence move in the brown team. They are actually growing, but we'll get to that later. So now, time to do with this colony. They, for the past couple of years, they've been growing away because, well, if you really think about it, they have to go either all the way through here and then come down around, or they have to go down through here, pay taxes to the green team, come down, like go all the way around, and finally get to their colony. So this colony has been wanting to break away for a very long time, and well, that's going to be happening because, well, the top half of the country does go over to this brown country, but these guys, they also get this chunk of land. So yeah, and well, now some countries are gonna need some capitals. So this will be your capital. This is your capital, and officially the pink team is now kicked out of North America, with that island being taken by this country. Well, not fully, but the rest of this does also just fall over to this country. So their capital goes ahead and starts up right there. So it's right there. And well, yeah, so now South America is now fully kicked out of there. Our Asian people are kicked out of there. The only country that has a colony still in Africa is the brown team, with these 2 islands right here, because they're like also like very strong brown. And also the French colony, which is like just isolated from the outside world. But except for like this half of the country, this part of the country does want their independence. This part of the country barely knows that independence is happening around them. So like yeah, it's a very confusing time for the French colony down there. They don't want to break into two because that will lead to war. But now, the pink team's greatest fear. The brown team is now starting to take land from Africa. And well, we gotta remember, the brown team, they used to have like all of this. They used to be like all big and mighty. They used to be like all right here. They used to have like all of this land. And well, obviously they aren't looking to reform that because they were very unstable in that time. That's why they sold some land to the pink team. But in the past couple of years, the brown country has been at a rise. And well, you go ahead and have the brown country ending up right there. And if you cannot tell, Canada's probably going to end up like the USA. I'm just saying that now because you're probably wondering, like, you might have wondered why Canada's getting really strong. Well, I'm kind of making them like the USA because, well, I like Canada. Canada's awesome. And well, yeah, no countries have broken away from the South America from the Asian pink colony until now. And this is like the first breakaway in Africa, which is a very major step, and it's the most civilized part of the country, which is honestly crazy because well, they are like the oldest. They are like one of the oldest people on Africa, but obviously no one's still alive from that time. But you know, meh. The brown team, they might go ahead and push out a little bit more, but they don't know if they want to. But a country that does want some land is our blue country. They used to have like a couple colonies out here in this area, but that's not going to go well for them. So they went ahead and they took like a couple little claims from the pink just off the coastal line. So these pixels are probably going to stay for the rest of the series. Because obviously they weren't really able to claim much, but these are like still heavily populated by blue countries, so like blue people, and they still want their independence. And like this area wants their independence to blue. This area wants their independence for blue. This independence want their independence for blue. This area wants their independence, and this biggest area. So yeah, these are the main areas that the blue colonized first. I'm pretty sure. I might be mistaken, but meh. So yeah. But you go ahead and have our Turkish country. They are for the past couple of years they've been they've got a new president, and that president is now looking to reform with the economy reformed from the last president. He now knows that he can start to reform the old the old Turkish Empire, not Ottoman. I meant to say Turkish. Our Russian friends, they did take a little bit of land, not too much, but just to strengthen the bond. But the Russians, they also are going to let go of a colony. And well, it is going to be like not that small of a colony, but it's not that big of a deal. But our Russians, they still did get to keep some land. They didn't run completely dry. They got to keep like this chunk right here because they realize that it's like they're keeping major areas for like water, like for trade routes in the water, like right here for example, and right here. So yeah, and well, now this new country's gonna need a capital, and well, they're gonna be right there. So yeah, and now the Russians will expand a little bit, not too much, but mostly just into the Sahara Desert. Out right there, and well, yeah, that's about it. But now it's time for the rest of the new countries to come into play. We're gonna have a country down here. They are like completely by themselves. They're pretty isolated. And well, you have about a couple more provinces that will need to be broken away. So like this one right here, right? So like this one about right there. This one right here, and then this one right here. So yeah, these are the three provinces that now need to break away, and they are like the last hope of the empire. The one mostly just in the Sahara Desert, they are the ones to the first ones to break away. But so good for them, I guess. And now these two countries are going to need capitals, so let's go ahead and give them some. One right there. That's a 6 pixel. These are very underdeveloped countries, so they won't have major capitals or any major cities. But our next area was to break away was here. And well, now with the age of decolonization, it's honestly pretty scary how the Korean country is still number one in the world. They've been number one for over 200 years. You realize how many presidents they've gone through? They've committed a couple of atrocities, but meh. And well, now Africa is starting to look like a mess. And honestly, the Koreans empire is still quite surprised that they are able to hold on to their colony with this much strength. Yes, obviously they might want a little bit of independence with now all these other countries getting independence, but it's not like a massive breakthrough like we need independence, we need independence. They're like, huh, what would it be like if we have independence? I wonder. They barely want independence. And if they did, they probably wouldn't actually ask for it because they're too scared to ask for it. These guys are menaces. And then now these guys are going to need a capital. It's there, I swear. I did give them a capital. If you just look very closely, you won't be able to see it, but meh. So yeah, now the pink team has officially collapsed. And, well, you see how they destroyed the rest of Paris? That's going to be a massive morale hit to the French. But the French, they go ahead and they go ahead. I just say go ahead twice. They take some land from the pink team. They didn't reach the wall. No one, their people at the wall are still highly, like, highly, like, no. We are part of the pink country. We are not breaking away. And well, for the first time in a very long time, Paris has been united under one. Because it's been over a couple 100 years since they were fully united. It might look like this. Yeah, like this. So yeah. But eventually, they do the pink team does retrieve important city because this is like one of the cities that are like, no, we still want to be part of the pink country. Our blue country, they do go ahead and expand. No, this is not the rise of our blue country. Again, they did have a little bit of a rise, but then they fell farther and farther into like death. But then you go ahead and have our dark red country expanding and taking this important city right here. And now, for our brown country, they only retrieve a little bit of land that they lost, but with at the cost of that, they lost some land to the pink country. These are like just land gains and land trades. Like, there's no actual like really, oh wow, whoa, war. But like, it's more just like, huh, this is happening. But the only reason why this area wanted to join back to the pink team is because so they could join this rose country. So yeah, now you pretty much have the whole world like completely like decolonized. And well, you go ahead and have Russia starting to implement some areas now being left on their own. So one of the things that they did is they decided that they were just gonna go ahead and dip out of everywhere except for the Suez Canal and some coastal areas right here. So yeah, they decided that they were just gonna dip out of there. They're like, nah, we're good. So yeah, that is no longer Russian colonized. And would I say this is a colony? Wait, are these different colors? Hold up. Oh my gosh, it is. Okay, well, there we go. I fixed the colors. So yeah, now I want to say this is really a colony. This is more of an overseas territory. But yeah, the Russians, they are gonna also have to give up some land to, our to the Israel country. And well, time for this land. You see, the Russians and the light blue country like each other, but these two don't. The Russian and this country do not like each other. You see, these two relations are so strong that they could probably outlast any alliance. So, what they decide to do is they decide to meet up. So they expand out their countries, and like they decided that they were like, yeah, I know it's weird. Trust me, I see it. But like, go ahead and have all of this meeting up. So yeah, and they go ahead and decide to make a union, but it's not really under any big color. It's more of a like, how do I? What would be a pink, red? Yeah, I need to like make a custom color now. How do I like what? I guess we'll just like go like. Yeah, that's our color. So this is the new Union color, and they abandoned the whole alliance thing, the whole Russian alliance. Like their relations were so strong. And yes, they do have two capitals. One down here, one up here. And well, the rest of this land is now kind of split with Russia. This land goes over to them. But you see, some area of this land is not so positive being in this new union, so they go ahead and decide to break away, which is like surprising. So like everybody who's like there really knew and expected this, but like meh. Oh well. Nothing we could really do about it. And they just gave autonomy to them. Autonomy. So yeah. It turns out to look like this. And well then yeah. So now you have the Russians gaining all of this. And yeah, so it's something. And you have a purple country gaining the rest of the land, actually. They, not the rest, but like a decent amount of it. So they get all of this. The Israel country gets a decent amount of a chunk. And that goes over to them. So not much of it actually goes over to them. Probably like barely any. But meh, who cares? So now, you have pretty much the whole world. Any white that was colored in, just don't look at South America, is now uncolored. But something happens over here on the Korean and the Russian border. And this is not even a staged like thing. This actually happened in their universe. So on this white line right here, some troops walked into each other's countries and they started firing at each other. Take in mind that they are in the same alliance. But you see, the Koreans thought that they were moving into here, and the Russians thought that they were here, and because the Koreans and the Russians were gonna move in on here and take out that new country. But you see, they moved wrong, and they started fighting each other and killing each other. And then the Russians and Koreans found out. And well, the Koreans 2 days later decided that they were going to leave the alliance and leave the economy if the Russians didn't leave. So now you have the nuclear arms race. The Canadians and the Russians, they have bad relations now. So the Russian alliance is now starting to collapse before the Russians' eyes. The alliance that was controlled the world for the longest time is now collapsing. We're now going to have a square alliance. No rush. It started with the Canadians and this blue country. So yeah, and then this this country, the strongest African nation joins, and then you go ahead and have the brown country joining, and well, this this, do you see this little piece of land right there? Yeah, that finally falls over to the brown country. The pink was really holding on to that, but they eventually fell. That was like their last colony, I guess you'd say. So yeah, that happened like really fast. The Pink Alliance now pretty much just consists of like four countries, but country by country starts to leave, and well, that's not good for the economy because, well, obviously it's gonna hurt relations. Because, well, Russia, these guys, they didn't, the Koreans and the Russians, they didn't go to war over this. They just both took each other's troops out and decided that they were going to no longer be friends. And, well, the Russians, they go ahead and start building a massive nuclear arsenal. And, well, the Canadians saw this and they said, well, so the Russians, they go ahead and come out with a new number. They say they have 203 nuclear bombs. And, well, the scary thing is, the Russians made a video of all the nuclear bombs, and you can count them, and they have 204. The Russians miscount. They have more nuclear bombs. The Koreans came out, and you gotta remember, there's a system to this. You can only have a certain amount of nuclear bombs per power ranking. But the Koreans, they came out and said they have 502 nuclear bombs. But you see, the Canadians came out and said, well, guess what? Those are puny numbers. Because you know what I said, the Canadians, they researched that bomb and they now know how to make those bombs? Well, they have 100.7 thousand nuclear bombs. They also created a new bomb. It's called a hydrogen bomb. And it's about 50 times stronger than the one that we actually have in the real world. They have 10 of these. So the Canadians, they are now the scariest country in the world. You now know to not mess with them. And our dark blue country comes out with a number also, and they have 3 nuclear bombs. They shouldn't have any nuclear bombs. But on the other hand, the brown country is allowed nuclear bombs, but they have 17 nuclear bombs, which is honestly a crazy number for a country that is like now just barely able to have nuclear bombs. And well, all those peace treaties are now broken. And people are now saying that Canada's number 2. So I'm now going to give you a power ranking. In my vision, I feel like Canada might be number 1 or number 2. Like very high number 2 if they're number 2. Or number 1. But I'm going to put them in number 2 just to keep the... So, number 1, the Korean country. Number 2, the Canadian country. Number 3, the Russians. Number 4, the brown. Number 5, the dark blue. And then, so yeah, that's a top 5 power ranking. They are at a 20.9. The Canadians are at 20.8. yeah, so Canada is now probably going to be the strongest country very soon, and everyone now knows that. And everyone's trying to warm up with the Canadians real fast. And now the Canadian election is going on. This is the scariest thing for the world right now. Because, well, it depends. This can affect the world trade. Because when these superpowers have elections, it's the scariest thing. Because you don't know if it'll affect. This party, the Red Party, is like all for disarming their nuclear bombs. This White Party is all for this, like the president one, like the one that's president right now, and the orange one is the one that is really favorable. It's fascism, pretty much. Well, not fascism. It's more communism than anything. But you have to reach this black line to win. But one day, this is what the election looked like. The white one, the red team was about right here, and the brown team was about right here because they slowed down right there. So yeah, this was the elections, and well, honestly, that was good for the world. Yes, Canada will continue making nuclear bombs, but that means that they aren't going to shut down trading or anything like that, which is good for the world. But Russia, they go ahead and come out with a new number of nuclear bombs. They say they have 72,000. And well, but you see, the U.S. president shows a video, and they only have 50,000. So they were caught. So they have exactly like 50,000. They have like 50,001. So yeah. But the Koreans, they come out with a new number, and well, it looks more like a lie, but it isn't. They came out with a number unbelievable to men. 900,000. And it was true. Because this AI, they count like an AI, a guy created an AI in Korea and sent it all around the world to presidents. And well, these presidents are using it to show off their power. And well, people are now realizing that nuclear bombs are not good for anybody. Hold up, let me redraw this 9. I think this might just be a little bit too big. There we go. So, 900,000 nuclear bombs here. And well, now, like, nuclear arms, they are, like, up so high. If you were to declare war on the wrong country, you are cooked. You see, the Canadians, they went real quiet. Everyone was thinking, they don't have any more, they don't have enough nuclear bombs. Well, as you can see, I'm erasing the number right now. And the K's going with it. They came up with a number of 1.7 million. And they came out with an even bigger number, not an even bigger number, but a too big of a number for hydrogen bombs. 170. They tested these on a city full of people that were volunteers, and they signed waivers. They knew what was in it. They were old. They were like in their like hundreds. They were ready. So, and like they tested a hydrogen bomb. They used to have 171, but they used that hydrogen bomb, and they now found out how powerful it is. This team now, the dark blue one has it, and the Canadians in the dark blue country made a deal where the dark blue country cannot make any hydrogen bombs. Only they can only buy it from the Canadians. So, yeah. The Koreans, they're like, okay, this is, they now realize that they have to stop. They have to start stopping other people from making nuclear bombs. They start implementing countries around it, and this is now going to be the Lightning Alliance, and well, it's going to be a great country. It's going to be a gray alliance because any country that is in this alliance will stop making nuclear bombs and focus on, if they want to be strong, they will focus on their military. Because they realize that this is a crazy amount. 900,000 is more than any country. 1.7 million is more than any country in the world. All nuclear bombs combined in the world in our life. The great country they do join this alliance. It doesn't really hurt them. The dark blue country realized this mistake of nuclear bombs. An unreasonable amount for a country to have in real life is 0. But like this alliance does start to spread pretty fast through Europe. It's like a pandemic. So it was like a pandemic here. And like it's actually a lot of countries here in Africa, because like they got tested on. They got a lot of nuclear bombs tested on them. They know the destructive power of them, and they do not want it used on them again, but this time on populated cities, because they know the power of these. So yeah, a lot of countries are now joining this alliance. And, well, there's only 2 major powers that decide not to join it. The Russians and the Canadians. And, well, the Koreans say, you know what? If they're not joining it, then neither am I. And they backed out of their own alliance. Which led to some countries leaving it, like the Dark Blue. And, well, yeah, that's pretty much about it. Except for, like, the brown country, they also back out of it. And same with this country right here, the Israel country. So yeah, now the whole world is in shambles from countries now just backing out of their own alliance that they started. And well, now you have the Cold War before World War II, pretty much. So a new alliance starts up. Is going to be it's going to be the Hard Alliance. And as you can tell, it's the Russians. Well, no, we already have a Hard Alliance. Never mind. So, we'll go with the Triangle Alliance, I guess. So the Russians, why do they still have this symbol on them? They joined the alliance. A lot of pro-Russian countries join the alliance. Actually, a fair amount of the African colonies, the former African colonies, they're pro-Russian. This country's pro-Russian. This country's pro-Russian. This country's pro-Russian. But the Canadians, they go ahead and they have their own alliance, and they're going to span this down a little bit. They're going to welcome in all countries that want it, except for their opponents and their allies. So the Canadians, they now have most power, like the most power over South America, which is honestly pretty surprising, because like they are a fairly new country, and obviously these guys were scared of the Koreans and the Russians invading them. But a peace treaty is now a treaty between all nuclear people, like every country that has a nuclear bomb, is now signed. Where if you have a nuclear, if you cannot drop a nuclear bomb on a place with over 1 million population, well, with over 10 million population, which means a lot of places are cooked. But the Russians, they demanded that that's what it is. The Koreans, that's the demand what it is. The Canadians, they wanted it to be 1 million, but now it's time for the Korean alliance. Well, you see, it is now time for the collapse of pretty much the rest of the Korean, like the rest of what's left of the economical alliance. But you see, the economical alliance does still grow. They actually grow next country to actually leave the Lightning Alliance is the Pink country, surprisingly enough. But back to the bigger of the economical alliance. And obviously you have like the Turkish. They are the Heart Alliance, which is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 countries. They're also part of the Cold War, but they're not going to be that big of a part of the Cold War. But the Korean Alliance, they're going to be the Pentagon, and we'll use dark red for it. So there is now a three-way Cold War going on. And a lot of countries under the sphere of influence of China, they go ahead and join. Some African nations decide not to join, even though they technically are in the sphere of influence. Let me go ahead and fix this because this was really bugging me. But these now more and more country each day starting to leave the Lightning Alliance because like their main hope was just to get it so old people will like leave the Lightning Alliance and just start to like join the just start to like, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this, but that's not gonna happen. So, as I said, more and more countries joining, which is honestly crazy. But this this country joins, and now the technically the Russians, they no longer have anywhere to get influence in South America unless they can get the French and this thing on their side, which surprisingly enough they were able to do. So they got them in first on their side, and then they got the Frenching. And well, now it's time for the continuation of the Chinese alliance growing. They joined for protection of the Russians and the Rose country. The the yeah, that's mostly about it. So yeah, they also decided to join it because like they've had some difficult times in life. So yeah, but the world is now in a Cold War, and that is not good. But as I said more about the pink, this is gonna be the last thing before the video ends. The red team, they are now going to go ahead and technically recapture some old territory. They technically still have, because like all of this land either really wants to be a part of the red country or wants to be a part of Canada. And the parts that joined the red country are now all wanted. These are like the parts that wanted to be a part of the red country because this country shouldn't even exist. Actually, it's like only being held together by its alliance. Honestly, the Korean country shouldn't exist either because like honestly they were close. They should have collapsed by now. They're like the oldest and strongest country ever. And also it's like mappers are now starting to say that the Canadian country is the strongest. I'm like, this is just like outbreaks between the the alliance. But you go ahead and have the capital being decided, finally being decided. Like obviously the government officials were over here, but it was decided that they were going to be over there now. They are now part of it. And well, you have the Canadians. They now officially join the Chinese alliance. So, well, you're probably going to see this is where the um areas in the Cold War are now going to be taking place because these are rebels that want to be part of Canada or just want to be like under a Canadian, like under the Canadian, like be free but like be close to Canada. And obviously you're gonna have some outbreaks from the Canadian, some Canadian places, like this right here. And well, this is like not looking good for this country because like as I said before, they shouldn't even be a part. They shouldn't even be like a country. but surprisingly they are. And well, it's like not going so well for them, because well, yeah, your capital's pretty much encircled. Um, Important cities are close to being captured. You have like a whole bunch of rebel groups now, and well, yeah, this is what is happening to a country that is under the influence of three different countries. And you're like, well, no, it's only two different, because like the Canadians and the Red Team, let's say the Square Alliance and the Pentagon Alliance. Well, don't worry, guys. The Russians are here too. They just were slower to react. And well, yes, they might be a little late, but that doesn't mean that they're not here. The Russians, they were able to get some like land in. They were able to like hop in and like, hey, we're here too, which is not good for the purple team, because like they're like pretty much collapsed at this point. The only reason why they're still around is because as I said, they're alliance. That's the only reason why they exist. They were close to being next by the Canadians, but they didn't want to be next by the Canadians, so they decided that, nah, we're not going to get next by the Canadians. And well, the Russians, they pretty much fully encircle one of your major cities right now, which is not a good sign for you, so yeah. Now, the Russians, they don't have as much as like the Pentagon or the Square Alliance. So, it is a mess here. And well, the Purple Alliance, the Purple country, they decide to leave the Lightning Alliance because they were just spending money on something that's not even going to work. And well, now this opens more land for me to have another Russian rebellion. So yes, they might have really weird shapes, but that's because those are the places that wanted to be, like, not be a part of the country anymore. So, this video is getting pretty long. I'm realizing that now. Actually, I've been realizing that for a little bit. But you have these rebellion groups now starting to make pushes out for each other and starting to kill military officials and starting to like kill some military, just like kill military, and they're being like rebellious groups. They're this is going to be a Cold War, and this does kind of look like an ATIS Pro type stuff, like down like what happened in Mexico, but like no, this is pretty much what's happening. It's like what's happening in Mexico, but much worse. Because well, Russia sent over a nuclear bomb. Yeah, they sent over a nuclear bomb to their rebellion. And what's that? But see, good thing about the Russians, when they drop nuclear bombs, at least they drop flyers. Cause well, the sirens went off and it was like, and boom right there. And then they found out that they had two and went boom right there. 19 million people died from those two. And well, now the Russians they're now the first ones to capture a major city. And also they are now the first ones to drop nuclear bombs during an actual like war, except for during like this is their second time dropping nuclear bombs just to weaken their opponent. And well, obviously now the purple countries like in the other states of collapsing, because like obviously there's no really coming back from this. I feel like the one that has the most control over this country right now is probably going to be the Canadian and the Canadian puppet, and then the Russians, and then the Chinese. Because like the Chinese, yes, they have like a decent amount of like the red team, they have a decent amount of land, but like it's not going to be enough. And like with now, you pretty much all your before the Canadians could like cut off this area, pretty much all military officials were moving over here to start holding over here. So now it's just gonna be a massive mess because now you actually have the Canadians, the Russians about to fight. Yeah, so it's not. They're not actually gonna be killing like it's pretty much gonna be peacekeepers type stuff, but like actually with military people. And well, now you have the blue country getting involved. The blue team got involved. Yep, it's that's not good because well they started a rebellion, which is not good because well that's killing more people, and now it's on the Russians, and now they're moving into the Russian rebellion and pushing in and taking out chunks. And when this fight is over, the purple country will be unrecognizable because like they're already like in a state of like national emergency. Surprisingly enough, the whole purple army is now able to make a little bit of a push. They were able to push into some core Canadian territory, which surprisingly enough went not terrible for them. Because some Canadian people, they feel bad for them. Some Canadian military people, they feel bad for them. But that's pretty much what's happening. They were able to make they were able to take out this red one, but like that wasn't really that major. But you see, these guys right here, they were now able to encircle the capital, which is not good. So this is pretty much the United States. Actually, it's called United States. So this is what the United States looks like in this timeline. So if anyone's from the United States, I'm sorry for what I've done to your not beautiful country because it's the United States. But sorry what I've done to your country. And now this country right here, they've declared a nationally emergency and put all their most of their army on this border because they're scared of what's gonna happen if they don't. The Pentagon Alliance also has these guys, these guys, they go ahead and they join the war. They go ahead and make a little bit of a naval invasion and take these two major cities, but like, what are they gonna do with those? Absolutely nothing. So yeah, now the Cold War. This is like the first battle of the Cold War, and well, some Canadians they're doing some old war crime stuff. Yes, this has passed on to this timeline. We still do war crimes. I mean, we don't do war crimes anymore if we need to, if we don't want to. So yeah, the Canadians, they start to win over more and more, but like they were able to take control over this chunk of land, and this red one, they decide to go ahead and just like fold over because like somehow they were able to the purple and the Canadians, they decided to give them a safe travel back to this country if they did if they just decide not to invade them. But officially a peace treaty is decided on. So the peace treaty looks like this. So the Caribbean, they get that land. The Canadian country, they get a fair amount of land. And see, the Canadians and the Chinese are trying to keep good relations, but for the past couple of years, it has not been looking good for their relations, especially with this war breaking out. It has not been going good for them. So, their relations. So, the red team, they also get the rest of this. Yeah, I guess they're back, I guess you could say. But, yeah. And then you have the white team. They are here, I guess you could say. And well, our purple country, they're still around, but with like very unstable with all these rebellions. Because like these rebellions, like there's some like actual non-funded rebellions now at this point, and like they're just breaking away. There's like one right here, which like is pretty like close to the capital, and there's like one down here in this area right here, and one right here. So yeah, so as you can see, the Canadian, they went ahead and they took control over this like this rebel group, because like this rebel group is pretty much just Canadian after all. So you can, yeah, it's not good at all, because it is not a good looking place to live in. No one, obviously war is still going on between these countries, but no one's really like caring about it enough to do anything. And well, a lot of people are saying stop the Cold War, stop the Cold War, this is bad, this is bad. But there's honestly nothing that they could really do to stop the Russians and the Canadians. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in the next one, and peace.